I think in terms of food, the policies that we follow basically are a response to the questions that we ask. So, what are fundamental questions that we should ask? Each of these questions to define the kind of narrative, the kind of policy that we promote. The first question is, how can we produce more food? Most of the policies in the strategies in the transformation agenda in Africa are a response to the first question. More than 90% of the strategy, the money, over 95% of foreign aid goes to Africa to respond to the first question: food production, more food. When you talk about the other questions, you are taken as somebody who is crazy or who is influenced by European agenda. So the second question, we can complicate the first question by adding some more questions. So the second question that we ask is, how can we produce more nutritious and healthy food? Then when you bring health and nutrition into the question, then the depths of the answer changes and the policy changes. The investment changes. It changes everything. And the third question complicates the question much more. How can we produce more food? We need more food. We need nutritious food. We need healthy food, but without affecting the biosphere, the sphere that we live in, our environment. How can we produce food without impacting the environment? It's a very critical food. Then for Africa, we can bring also another question, more critical question, which is culture. We bring culture into the food agenda. How can we produce culturally appropriate food, more food, nutritious food, without affecting the environment, but culturally appropriate? That's a very, very important question for us. And also justice, in a just way. Then you bring the political agenda when you bring also that issue. So I can tell you that the policy that we have now are, as I said, directed to the first question also. They doesn't ask this question. Third question. Well, we have, as you know, I don't want to go into this in detail because, there is a population explosion. We have land and forest degradation as a problem, biodiversity, cultural erosion, unplanned urbanization. This is becoming, by the way, the biggest problem in Africa also, urbanization. And also climate change. All these problems are happening. Just to give you an example, this is a satellite photo that was taken to the southwest of the country in Gambela region. The place is called Majang. Some years ago, not very far, in 1987, this is a lowland, and this is the forest, a huge block of forest. In 1987. In 2001, you see that these red signs are agriculture. And in 2012, you can see the change. If I bring the photo, the satellite photo of 2017 or 18, you can see the red spreading. So agriculture, some organizations say, no, we work on forest. Some are, nature and whatever. If we don't address agricultural issue, we cannot address anything. I tell you. Because this is a simple photographic satellite example of what the impact of agriculture can be and will be if we don't address it. So there are two narratives now, two competing paradigms for the future of agriculture. One paradigm, I call it productivist, because this is a paradigm which is trying to answer the first question. How shall we produce more food? The second paradigm, I call it agroecological. So I will talk first about the first paradigm and later about agroecology. This paradigm, the first productivist paradigm, is supported by very powerful bodies. Very poor. Philanthrocapitalists. Here I put the Gates and, Warren Buffett, this kind of people who are supporting the Green Revolution agenda in Africa. These are the philanthrocapitalists. And development agents. These are the SIDA, these are the USA, the NIDA, all that. Development agents. Business. These are the Monsanto. Now Monsanto is not there, so Bayer has swallowed Monsanto, but these are the, and also they are teaming up with a lot of local scientists and government bureaucracy. In Africa, the government bureaucracy is NIPAD, CARIP, African Union, and regional economic commissions. The productivist paradigm, which is answering the first question, is supported by this powerful body. Now they have what? A transformation agenda. Transforming African agriculture. That's what they call it. This is their narrative. The basics of their narratives are this one. First, priority to business to feed Africa. No, Africa, we cannot feed Africa. So business has to be given a priority. Because for business, we are changing infrastructure a lot. We are changing our laws. And we are also creating a lot of a battery of local experts to support business to feed Africa. Basically, that's what's happening. And seed, in terms of seed, farmers cannot produce, Africans cannot produce more. Why? Their seed is problematic. So we have to change it. We have to produce more hybrid seeds or genetically modified seeds. That's the agenda. Why? African seed is weak. If African seed was right, then they should have fed themselves, So the problem is seed. We have to change our seed. For this, a lot of laws are being produced, the regulations are produced to change our seed laws. But as we will see later, you can actually increase or enhance the productivity of seeds through the work of farmers and scientists. They can work together and they can change the productivity. And calorie. The focus is on calorie. How can we produce more calorie, more maize, more wheat, so that we feed people, not on nutrition. Land. Why is land grabbing promoted? Because land in the hands of Africans is not productive. So we have to give it to somebody to produce more food to feed people. So that's why people are losing their land. And knowledge comes from science and technology, not from people. People now know now. If their knowledge was fine, then why should they feel angry? So their knowledge is not important. So we have to bring scientific knowledge. If you go to any meeting in Africa, that's what people tell you. And agroecologically, Africa is so diverse. Even in my own country, Ethiopia, you cannot have a policy for the central part of the country, the mountains, for the lowlands. There are insects eating. There are communities whose life is based on insect, and there are communities whose life is based on crops. You cannot have one policy for all. But what they do, the groups that I told you, is they produce a policy in somewhere in New York or whatever, or it can be in Africa somewhere at the office level. One fit for all. So this is the narrative, their narrative. What is the result of this narrative in other continents? It has come from the document that was produced by IPES Food. It's a triple burden of malnutrition. There is hunger, and there is micronutrient deficiencies and obesity. By the way, the number of obese people in Africa is rising. I heard the FAO director saying that Out of the 20 or something countries which are highly obese, 8 of them are in Africa. South Africa is by far the most obese country in the world now. That's increasing. And mostly it's a gender issue. So it's a woman who are obese in South Africa. So this is a very, very problematic issue for Africa. And all the non-communicable diseases. Environmental degradation is quite high. Biodiversity losses in, the recent report. Water pollution, soil degradation, greenhouse gas emissions, all these problems. Social inequities, poverty, disempowerment, all this happening, and neglect of cultural values. So that narrative has resulted in this. And this is also one of the diagrams identified by the IPES Food as lock-ins. Industrial agriculture is bad, we know. Why is it locked in? Why can't we go out of industrial agriculture? These are the 8 reasons, or the 8 lock-ins. All of them do apply for Africa, but some of them, like measures of success. Measures of success in agriculture is only on productivity, not on nutrition. Past dependency, you go through one path. You buy machines, your land is used to fertilizers and chemicals, and once you go in that direction, it's very difficult to come out. Our farmers are finding it even to be agroecological after they have taken a pass. Export orientation. Every agriculture is now for export. We need to export. We need to bring in values, not how to feed ourselves, but export. Impact of export on biodiversity, on whatever, is not discussed. I could have discussed more about this, but there is no time. I just brought this not to look very scientific, but the 9 planetary boundaries, the 3 areas that the planet is exceeding it, or reaching the boundaries or exceeding, are biodiversity, phosphorus and nitrogen, and climate change to make sense also. Why I'm bringing this is, I think in Africa we're rapidly going into this. And agriculture, the 3 are highly, or the 4 are highly related to agriculture. If we don't address agriculture, then we will mess up the planetary boundaries. And I don't want to go into that picture. This is a donut diagram. It's a very famous diagram. By the way, many big institutions, including the SDG centers all over the world or internationally, are using this to design their program. I spoke with a very powerful person in Costa Rica, somebody thought to be the president of Costa Rica in the future. And he said that they are using this diagram to design their country program, even especially this one. Because these are the 9 planetary boundaries and the social boundaries. We have to operate, agriculture and any development activity has to operate between the 2. But this is a narrative, the productivist narrative. Our narrative is called agroecology. Agroecology is defined action and change that brings sustainability and resistance to all parts of the food system. All parts, ecology, economic, cultural, and social. And agroecology is a science, agroecology is a practice, and agroecology is a social movement. And it has to be all 3, otherwise it's not agroecology. When people talk about agroecology, they talk about the practice, composting, mulching. Basically, we find somehow other forms of agriculture, like organic agriculture and whatever, in the first 2 categories, not in the social movement. I'm not saying that all of organic agriculture is like that. You would find some organic agriculture practitioners doing also advocacy work and whatever. But in general, when we talk about agroecology, It also includes social movement, and that's where AFSA is also in the social movement. The social movement presumes that you have to move against something. What I have said when I was explaining the narratives is that there is a body, a group of bodies that I have listed, that are philanthro-capitalists in development agencies. This consortium of body have clarified its idea and simplified it and sold that idea to the governments. Because of this idea, local communities are losing their land, they are losing their seed, they are losing their water bodies, and they are losing their culture, and they are losing their life. It's impacting people. So the people, it's not enough for somebody to go to apply composts and mixed crops and all the techniques. You have to fight also this narrative. Because of this narrative, a lot of energy, a lot of funding, a lot of consultancy, a lot of policy development is coming, which farmers in civil society organizations are not understanding. So we have to come together. When you come together as a group, then you can understand together, you can share your problems, you can share your strategies, and fight with the force that is taking your life under your feet. That's the social movement side of agriculture. These people coming together to really fight for their own life. At the local community level, then you have the farmers association, which are farmers. If there are pastoralists do come together. Indigenous people, they are coming together as one. Women come as a women association. For example, in one of communities where Malka is working, there's a farmers association. Women have an association for themselves where they discuss their own issue. They come together and they discuss their own issue. And if something comes, they say no. You see, separately, as a single person, they cannot say no. Everything that comes with industrial agriculture is enforced. You have to take certain amount of fertilizer, chemical fertilizer. You have to buy chemicals. You have to buy seeds. You have to do this. So there is a lot of do this, and we don't want to do this. Requires a social organization, the local community. That's what the social movement is for me.